Hi all, this is Anthony Wilson. I'm the Communications Director for the City of San Angelo. It is the first Tuesday of the month. That means we had a City Council meeting today. And as we are wont to do afterwards, we like to sit down with you, talk about the things that happened that were of interest, importance, and impact in your lives. And today, the thing that wasn't terribly important, might not have been all that impactful, but was definitely interesting, was a discussion about perhaps allowing alcohol sales within 300 feet of Central Freshman Campus downtown. So here to talk about that is our Planning Director, John James. John, thanks for being with us.
Sure, thank you.
So as I mentioned, there was a proposal before the council today for a process that might have allowed restaurants within 300 feet of the Central Freshman Campus to sell alcohol. Help us understand a little bit about what was discussed today in regards to that.
Sure. As it stands today, you simply can't get an alcohol permit within 300 feet of any school, public school. This would have allowed for a variance process to allow someone who perhaps wanted to open a restaurant, but not a bar or liquor store, within 300 feet of the Central Freshman Campus. And the reason it's only the Central Freshman Campus is that this exception would only apply in the Central Business District or downtown.
Now, why is that? Why consider an exception only for downtown as opposed to the entire city?
Well, in downtown, it's different than most of the rest of the city in that out in the edges of the city, most things are segregated. Homes, apartments, businesses are sort of separated more. But in the downtown, it's an area where all of those things not only are allowed to be mixed in with each other, but we actually encourage that, to have homes and apartments and restaurants and stores and all of that stuff mixed up in downtown. And so the thinking was that at least in the downtown, allowing a restaurant with that would serve alcohol would potentially be okay, even if it was closer to a school.
You know, prior to today's discussion, there was a lot of interest on our social media about this discussion. A lot of people were wanting to know, well, which restaurant are we talking about? Is there an existing restaurant within 300 feet of the Central Freshman Campus?
There is not, and in fact there's not a specific restaurant that was looking to go within that area. This wasn't an approval for any individual restaurant. We have had some questions over the past few months from people potentially interested in some sites that this would affect, but this was not about any particular address or any particular restaurant. And
those sites are along North Chadbourne Street, which has seen a lot of development here recently.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the reasons that this was brought up, is that that area along North Chadbourne, just in the north part of downtown, is an area we're seeing a lot of interest in revitalization. And so as those vacant properties, people are looking to get into them, some of the uses that people are looking at for those vacant sites are restaurants.
So the staff, our city planners, recommended approval of allowing for a variance process. Talk about the reasoning behind that recommendation.
Yeah, when we were originally approached about this, it was about creating an exemption. And I think we had some hesitancy about supporting an outright exemption for alcohol sales that close to a school. But this was kind of a compromise to allow a variance process, so City Council would still hear any individual request, and it would give them the ability to review the particulars of any particular case and make a decision, yes or no, just on those case-by-case specifics.
Now, when this came up before the Planning Commission and again today at the City Council, there were opponents to this proposal. And as you know, everyone's aware, there are obviously lots of restaurants and bars in the downtown area. What was the basis of the concerns raised by this idea?
I think generally just that the goal of those alcohol separation restrictions are to help protect our children in schools. And I think some of the thinking on the other side was that there are plenty of other opportunities for restaurants and other types of alcohol sales, that we should keep that 300-foot separation from schools intact and not even allow the possibility of a variance.
Now, after a fairly lengthy discussion, the council rejected this idea by a 4-3 vote. Does that mark the end of this issue?
For now, sure. Once council votes on it and they voted to deny it today, it won't come back up again. Any council member or the mayor could always bring up the issue again. But as far as staff is concerned, we consider it a settled matter at this point.
So this was one of 3 planning items or issues today that sparked a lot of public debate, and a trio of 4-3 votes, which is very unusual for our city council to be voting 4-3. You've been in the planning business a long time. What is it, John, about planning matters that seem to move people in very strong and sometimes emotional ways?
Well, really, you're talking about people's properties. You're talking about what people can do with their property, but also not just the property who's wanting to do something, but you've got neighbors that the one property affects. And so you've got those competing ideas that we're always trying to balance in planning of allowing people to do what they want with their property with as limited restrictions as possible, but at the same time protecting the neighbors from things that would devalue their property or make their quality of life less.
This may be a little bit hopeful, but do you hope that people, once these discussions occur, maybe tune in a little bit more to what's going on with planning issues within our community as opposed to just waiting until something impacts them in a very direct manner?
I think so. Like I said, the decisions like this affect people's property and their property values, and getting involved and understanding what's going on and weighing in, even if it's just an email to a council person or a phone call or talking to city staff, the more input we can get on these things, the better, because there's a lot of people out there who maybe even if they are paying attention, don't make their voices heard, and at the end of the day, that's how democracy works.
We've been talking with John James. He is our planning director. I should note that at almost every city council meeting, there are some planning issues on the agenda, and our planning commission also meets once a month, first Monday of the month, and we air those meetings on SATV and also on our YouTube channel. So if you have any questions about anything that you've heard today, please comment, leave a question. We'll be happy to respond.